Okay, let's dive right into this. Today, we are looking at a truly fascinating reality, which is how digital crimes are actually prosecuted in India today. I mean, if you've ever wondered what happens behind the scenes when a hacker breaches a network or a syndicate runs one of those massive fake call centers, the legal mechanics behind stopping them are incredibly intricate. And honestly, they've just undergone a massive shift. So throughout this explainer, we're going to break down exactly how this legal machinery works and the frankly ingenious ways authorities are now piecing different laws together to stop these criminals in their tracks.
Here is our roadmap for this explainer. First, the dual statute reality. Then hacking and identity theft, stalking and phishing, ransomware and cyber terrorism. Then we'll look at the first cybercrime conviction. And finally, targeting organized cyber syndicates.
All right, Section 1, the dual statute reality.
So there is this really common misconception out there that cybercrime relies exclusively on cyber laws. But since July 1, 2024, that is simply no longer true. To understand a prosecution today, you have to look at two distinct pieces of legislation working together. It's kind of like a puzzle. On one side, you have the IT Act, which supplies the technology-specific offense. That's the actual digital mechanism used to commit the crime. On the other side, the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita, or BNS, supplies the general criminal law offense. Think of your traditional crimes here, things like cheating, extortion, or intimidation. Today, police routinely combine provisions from both of these into a single FIR. And that's because neither statute alone tells the complete story. A digital breach almost always results in real-world, physical, or financial harm, so the tech used and the act committed literally have to be married together.
Moving right along to Section 2, hacking and identity theft.
Let's actually put this new mental model to the test with two classic digital break-ins, just to see how this dual statute approach handles them in depth. For hacking or unauthorized access, the charge sits firmly in the IT Act. It actually starts as a civil contravention under Section 43 for simply accessing or downloading data. But it escalates into a criminal charge under Section 66 if it's done dishonestly or fraudulently. Notice there's no specific BNS charge needed if it's just pure hacking. But when we look at identity theft, that requires a tag team approach. If someone fraudulently uses your password, well, that's IT Act Section 66C. But to prosecute the actual extraction of your money or property, prosecutors have to pull in the BNS, specifically Section 318 for cheating and Section 319 for cheating by personation. The technology offense needs that traditional law to cover the actual financial deception.
So the crucial point here is that these abstract legal codes translate into very real-world consequences. For hacking under Section 66, we're looking at imprisonment of up to 3 years, a fine of up to 5 lakh rupees, or even both. For identity theft under Section 66C, it's up to 3 years in prison and a 1 lakh rupee fine. The law is explicitly designed to hit the perpetrators hard, combining jail time with some pretty significant financial penalties.
Section 3, stalking and phishing.
Now, what makes these next crimes so insidious is that they manipulate human psychology just as much as computer code. And honestly, get this, the IT Act actually has no dedicated stalking provision. It's wild, right? So a cyber stalking prosecution has to run almost entirely through the general penal code side of our model, specifically BNS Section 78. Meanwhile, phishing, which is essentially cheating by personation using a computer, uses Section 66D of the IT Act, but it heavily relies on BNS Section 318 and 319 to prosecute the actual human deception involved.
Let's relate all this legal jargon to the everyday threats we hear about all the time. Under BNS Section 78 for stalking, courts have confirmed that purely digital conduct absolutely counts. Physical proximity is not required anymore. A scorned ex repeatedly sending WhatsApp or social media messages despite clear disinterest, that can sustain a conviction. A first conviction gets up to 3 years, a second gets up to 5. And for phishing, that 66D plus 318 and 319 combination is the exact legal weapon authorities use to take down those massive organized fake call centers that try to steal your OTPs or commit KYC frauds.
All right, Section 4, ransomware and cyber terrorism.
Okay, let's move to and see how this builds when we elevate the stakes. We're shifting focus from individual scams to high-level, high-impact digital threats. Because surprisingly, there is no literal ransomware law in the IT Act, prosecutors have to conceptually construct the charge step by step, almost like building blocks. Step 1, IT Act Section 43 covers the actual introduction of the malware and the encryption or locking of your data. Step 2, Section 66 is applied because, obviously, it's done with fraudulent intent. And Step 3, because these hackers demand crypto or cash to unlock it, BNS Section 308 for extortion gets pulled in. They literally build the charge piece by piece, combining 3 different statutes to capture the full anatomy of the attack, which can carry sentences anywhere from 2 to 10 years depending on the severity.
But what happens if that ransomware attack doesn't just target a private company's payroll, but instead targets a power grid or entirely shuts down a hospital network? Well, if an attack hits critical infrastructure to threaten the unity, security, or sovereignty of India, or simply to strike terror, it escalates to Section 66F, cyber terrorism. This is a far more severe dedicated charge, and the stakes here are absolute. It is punishable by life imprisonment.
Section 5. First cybercrime conviction.
I want to pause the high-level legal theory for just a second to ground this explainer in a foundational human story from exactly 2 decades ago. Because this dual statute tactic we've been discussing, it's not actually brand new. Its roots go all the way back to a landmark 2004 case, State of Tamil Nadu versus Suhas Khadi. The facts here are pretty sobering. A family friend proposed marriage to a divorced woman and was rejected. In retaliation, he created a fake Yahoo email account in her name, posted defamatory messages across message boards, and forwarded harassing emails. Strangers literally began calling the victim, believing she was soliciting. When she went to the Chennai Cybercrime Cell, they successfully prosecuted him using both the IT Act of 2000 and the General Penal Code for forgery and insulting the modesty of a woman.
And this brilliantly illustrates something I found absolutely astonishing: the rapid progression of justice in India's very first successful cybercrime conviction. The complaint was filed in February 2004. Police traced the accused to Mumbai and arrested him within days. A charge sheet was filed in March, and by November 5, 2004, the court delivered a guilty verdict on all counts, sentencing him to rigorous imprisonment. I mean, think about that. From complaint to conviction in just 9 months.
So, why does a 2004 case matter so deeply to our understanding today? Because it proved, right at the very birth of India's cyber enforcement, that electronic evidence could indeed stand up in an Indian court. Traced IP addresses, internet logs, cyber cafe records, they sustained that criminal conviction. It laid the complete groundwork for how digital footprints are treated today, and it's the exact reason why laws like BNS Section 78 can effectively handle purely digital stalking right now.
Which brings us to Section 6, targeting organized cyber syndicates.
We have looked at the past, so let's look to the horizon. The cybercriminal underworld has undergone massive structural changes, and the legal framework is evolving aggressively to tackle it. 2. That is how many years old the newest, most powerful legal tool in this fight is. BNS Section 111 is barely 2 years old, but trust me, it is an absolute game changer.
See, individual provisions like Section 66D for phishing or Section 43 for data damage were brilliant for stopping lone hackers, but they were never really designed to take down massive ransomware as a service groups or cross-border phishing rings that are operating at a corporate scale. Enter BNS Section 111. This provision explicitly captures cybercrimes alongside kidnapping and extortion under the category of organized crime. This means a cyber syndicate can now be prosecuted under a dedicated organized crime framework. This gives police broader investigative powers, longer holding periods, and the penalties scale massively, up to life imprisonment or even the death penalty if the syndicate's offense results in death.
Which brings us to the ultimate question we have to ask ourselves. Can traditional legal frameworks evolve fast enough to defeat borderless organized cyber syndicates? We've seen how the IT Act and the BNS have merged to create an incredibly powerful dual statute response, adapting from individual email harassment in 2004 all the way to global ransomware networks today. It is going to be absolutely fascinating to track how Indian courts interpret these new organized crime provisions in the coming years. Thank you so much for focusing in on this explainer with me. Until next time, keep analyzing and keep learning.